Hello, welcome here. Have you ever felt it, that sinking sensation when you wake up, and a tiny worry whispers in your ear, only to watch, almost inevitably, as that very fear unfolds throughout your day? Perhaps you are running late, and suddenly every traffic light turns red, every pedestrian seems to amble slowly, and that crucial parking spot vanishes before your eyes. Or maybe you've meticulously planned an important event, accounting for every contingency, only for a completely unforeseen, absurd, and seemingly targeted mishap to derail everything at the last minute. It is the moment when the toast always lands butter, side down the phone dies just as you need it most, or the one item you desperately need at the store is of course out of stock. It is that pervasive, unsettling feeling, and it often feels like an unstoppable, almost malevolent force, a psychological curse designed specifically for you. This feeling of helplessness in the face of an unpredictable future, the quiet dread that misfortune is lurking just around the corner, can be incredibly isolating and anxiety-inducing. You are not alone in feeling this way. In fact, it's a universally recognized human experience. But what if I told you that this curse is less about external cosmic forces and more about the intricate, fascinating, and sometimes mischievous workings of your own mind? Today, we're going to embark on a journey deep into the psychology behind Murphy's Law, dissecting why it feels so undeniably true, and more importantly, how you can begin to understand, reframe, and even transcend its perceived power. We'll explore the hidden mechanisms of our perception, the subtle biases that color our reality, and the profound impact of our expectations. By the end of this, my hope is that you'll not only gain a new perspective on those frustrating moments, but also acquire practical tools to navigate life's inevitable bumps with greater wisdom and resilience. So let's peel back the layers of this pervasive phenomenon and discover the incredible power. The core of Murphy's Law at its surface is simple. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's a statement that resonates because we all have countless anecdotes to confirm it. But is it a fundamental law of the universe, or a reflection of how our brains process information and experience the world? The truth is, it is a profound interplay between probability, human error, and a series of power. This isn't just about bad luck. It's about how our minds interpret, remember, and even inadvertently create the conditions for what we perceive as bad luck. Let's begin our exploration by examining the first major psychological concept at play: selective attention and confirmation bias. Imagine you are told to look for red cars on your commute. Suddenly you see red cars everywhere. Were there more red cars that day? Unlikely. Our brains are bombarded with an enormous amount of sensory information every second, far too much for us to consciously process. To cope, our minds become expert filters, deciding what to focus on and what to ignore. When it comes to Murphy's Law, if you hold a belief that things tend to go wrong for me, or if you are in a situation where you are particularly anxious about potential failures, your mind will naturally be primed to know a small delay, a minor inconvenience, a slight error. These will jump out at you, reinforcing your existing belief. Simultaneously, the countless times when things go wrong, or when they go perfectly fine, simply fade into the background, unnoticed and unremembered. This is where confirmation bias steps in. Confirmation bias is our innate tendency to seek out. If you believe Murphy's Law is real and actively operating in your life, your brain will unconsciously seek out evidence to prove it. Every missed bus, every spilled coffee, every lost file becomes a shining beacon of proof. Meanwhile, all the buses you catch on time, all the coffees you drink without incident, all the perfectly saved files are dismissed as unremarkable, mere background noise. They don't fit the narrative. You are, in essence, creating a self-fulfilling observational prophecy. Your expectation of things going wrong isn't making things go wrong in the physical sense, but it is making you perceive them as going wrong more frequently and intensely than they objectively are. It is like wearing glasses that only highlight the imperfections, while the beauty around you remains a blur. To apply this understanding, the first step is awareness. The next, ask yourself, what didn't go wrong today? What went smoothly that I might have overlooked? How many times did I successfully complete a task without a hitch? By deliberately shifting your focus, you can begin to rewire your observational filters, recognizing that good or neutral events are far more prevalent than your biased perception might suggest. This isn't about denying problems, but about creating a more balanced and It is about recognizing that the curse often lies not in the event itself, but in the way we choose to perceive and prioritize certain events over others. Another powerful psychological force at play is the expectancy effect, often manifesting as a self-fulfilling prophecy. This concept goes a step further than just perception. It suggests that our expectations can actually influence the outcome. If you approach a task with the explicit expectation that this is going to go wrong, your behavior consciously or unconsciously may subtly shift in ways that increase the likelihood of that negative outcome. Consider a student taking an exam. If they are convinced they will fail, they might feel more anxious, leading to poor concentration, difficulty recalling information, or even making careless errors that they wouldn't normally make. Their negative expectation. Similarly, if you are convinced your computer will crash before you save your work, you might rush, be less careful, or even delay saving because what is the point? This increased carelessness or stress can indeed make a crash more likely, or at least make its impact more devastating because you haven't taken precautions. In social situations, the expectancy effect is equally potent. If you expect a social gathering to be awkward, others, picking up on your nonverbal cues, might then react with less engagement. Confirming your initial negative expectation, it becomes a vicious cycle. The application here is profound. Challenge your negative expectations. Before embarking on a task or entering a situation, consciously set a positive or at least neutral expectation. Instead of "this is going to go wrong," try "I will do my best." This shift in mindset can reduce anxiety, improve focus, and encourage more proactive, careful behavior, thereby decreasing the actual probability of negative outcomes. It is about harnessing the power of your mind to work for you, not against you. Beyond selective attention and expectancy, a cluster of general cognitive biases contributes to the pervasive feeling of Murphy's Law. This bias refers to our tendency to overestimate the likelihood of events that are more easily recalled from memory. Negative or dramatic events are often more salient and emotionally charged, making them more vivid and easier to remember. Think about airplane crashes versus car accidents. Airplane crashes are terrifying and grab headlines, making them highly available in our memory. As a result, many people fear. Similarly, when something goes wrong in your life, especially if it is frustrating or impactful, that memory becomes highly available. You can quickly pull up instances of things going wrong, which then makes it feel like these events are more frequent than they actually are. The positive, mundane, or uneventful moments lacking that emotional punch are much harder to recall, leading to a skewed perception of reality. If you've had a string of unfortunate incidents lately, these recent setbacks will loom larger in your mind, making it seem as though bad luck is constantly hounding you. The negative experiences from weeks or months ago might fade, but the ones from yesterday or earlier today are fresh, coloring your entire perception of your current situation. Then there is the fundamental attribution error, though it is more about explaining why things go wrong. Gee, they're careless. They're a bad driver. While we attribute our own negative outcomes to external circumstances beyond our control, e.g., the traffic was terrible, my computer froze. When Murphy's Law seems to strike us, we readily externalize it, blaming the law itself, bad luck, or the universe, rather than examining any potential internal factors or our own contributions. This makes Murphy's Law feel like an oppressive external force, reinforcing its unstoppable nature. To counteract these biases, practicing mindful reflection is crucial. Instead of letting your emotional memory dictate your reality, consciously engage in a mental audit of your recent experiences. Make a point of noting not just what went wrong, but also what went right, what was neutral, and for the availability heuristic, recognize that just because you can easily recall something doesn't make it statistically probable. For recency bias, try to gain perspective by considering a longer time frame. How does this week compare to the last month or the last year? And regarding the attribution error, cultivate a sense of self-awareness by honestly evaluating your own role, even if minor, in any Murphy's Law moments. This isn't about self-blame, but about gaining agency and identifying areas where you exert influence. Another contributing factor to the feeling of Murphy's Law is our innate need for control and the illusion of control. Humans inherently crave a sense of control over their environment and their lives. It is a fundamental psychological need that provides a sense of security and predictability. Murphy's Law, in this context, becomes the ultimate antagonist to our desire for control. It suggests that even our best efforts can be thwarted by an unpredictable, almost mischievous universe. This feeling of powerlessness can be deeply unsettling and can lead to anxiety, frustration, and a sense of being a victim of circumstance. We attribute events to this law because it provides a narrative, however disempowering, that explains why things seem to go awry despite our best intentions. The challenge here is to distinguish between what we fake-a-fake control and what we fake-a-not-fake. Many aspects of life are inherently outside our direct control: the weather, the actions of others, random occurrences, and true accidents. The illusion of control can lead to unnecessary stress and disappointment when reality inevitably deviates from our meticulously planned scenarios. The application, drawing from timeless wisdom like Stoicism, is to focus your energy and attention exclusively on what is within your sphere of influence: your thoughts, your reactions, your efforts, your preparation, and your choices. Accept that when something goes wrong that is truly outside your control, instead of lamenting the unfairness or the curse, practice acceptance. Shift your focus from "fey what fey happened to fey how you will respond fey." This doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to fate, but rather strategically deploying your mental and emotional resources where they can actually make a difference, thereby reclaiming your sense of agency in the face. This bias is our tendency to underestimate the time, costs, and risks associated with future actions, while simultaneously overestimating the benefits. We're inherently optimistic planners. We think a task will take an hour when it realistically needs 3. We budget for a project, only to find unexpected costs balloon. We assume a smooth journey, not accounting for potential delays. When these overly optimistic plans inevitably collide with the messy reality of unforeseen obstacles and complexities, it feels like Murphy's Law is at play. But often it is not bad luck. It is a failure to realistically anticipate challenges and build in buffers. Every project manager, event organizer, or even daily commuter has encountered the planning fallacy. You plan a tight schedule, leaving no room for error, and then a minor traffic jam or a slow computer suddenly makes you late. It feels like the universe conspired against you, but in truth, you simply didn't account for the almost certain possibility of minor disruptions. The solution to the planning fallacy is to cultivate realistic pessimism in your planning. Not a debilitating pessimism, but a practical one. What unexpected delays or costs might arise? What contingencies can I put in place? Add buffer time, extra resources, and alternative routes. Consult with others who have done similar tasks, as they often have a more realistic view of potential pitfalls. By proactively accounting for potential problems, you transform them from Murphy's Law moments into manageable challenges you've already anticipated. It is another common cognitive distortion that fuels the perception of Murphy's Law is catastrophizing. This is the tendency to assume the worst possible outcome will occur, even if evidence suggests otherwise. When a small problem arises, a catastrophizing mind quickly spirals into imagining the most dire consequences. A minor headache becomes a brain tumor. A forgotten email becomes the loss of a job. This mental habit creates immense anxiety and distress, making every small setback feel like a monumental crisis. When the actual outcome is less severe than the imagined catastrophe, there is a temporary sense of relief, but the underlying anxiety persists, and the potential for disaster becomes another confirmation of a world where things fey always go horribly wrong. Catastrophizing isn't just about fear. It is a way of thinking that magnifies the perceived power of Murphy's Law. If your mind automatically jumps to the worst case scenario, every little hiccup will feel like a harbinger of imminent doom. The application here is to practice decatastrophizing. When you find your thoughts spiraling into extreme negative possibilities, pause and challenge them. Ask yourself, what is a more realistic scenario? What evidence do I have to support this worst case thought, and what evidence contradicts it? Often, simply articulating the exaggerated fear can make it seem less potent. Focus on the immediate next step you can take, rather than getting lost in a future of imagined horrors. This practice helps to ground you in reality and reclaim your mental energy from unproductive anxiety, weakening when we're under pressure, especially if we're worried about things going wrong, which, as we've discussed, is a common reaction to the idea of Murphy's Law. Our cognitive functions and physical coordination can suffer. Stress hormones like cortisol flood our system, narrowing our focus, impairing memory, and making us more prone to errors. Think about a time you were extremely stressed and trying to complete a task. Did you drop things more often? So if you are already anticipating that something will go wrong, the resulting stress and anxiety can actually make you more likely to make a mistake, thus creating the very Murphy's Law moment you were dreading. This creates a feedback loop. Anticipation of failure leads to stress. Stress leads to errors. Errors confirm the initial anticipation of failure. The application is to manage your techniques like deep breathing, mindfulness, short breaks, or even a brief walk can help regulate your stress response. Before tackling a critical task, take a moment to calm your mind and focus. Recognize that a certain level of stress can be motivating, but excessive stress is detrimental. By reducing your overall stress levels, you not only improve your performance, but also break the cycle where your own anxiety contributes to the things going. This isn't just about feeling better. It is about actively improving your chances of success and reducing the instances that you would otherwise label as Murphy's Law. Finally, let's consider psychological immunity and resilience. Some people seem to bounce back from adversity with remarkable ease, while others crumble under the weight of minor setbacks. This difference often comes down to resilience, the ability to adapt. Those who perceive Murphy's Law as a constant, inescapable force might lack robust psychological immunity. They might internalize setbacks, view them as personal failings, or see themselves as victims of fate. This perspective can erode self-efficacy and lead to a feeling of powerlessness, further solidifying the curse in their minds. Conversely, resilient individuals they see challenges as opportunities for growth, learning, or problem solving. They understand that setbacks are an inevitable part of life, not personal attacks from the universe. They focus on what they can learn, what actions they can take, and how they can adapt. This proactive, growth-oriented mindset inherently lessens the perceived impact of Murphy's Law, because even when things go wrong, it is not a catastrophe, but this involves several practices: developing a growth mindset, believing your abilities can grow through effort, practicing self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness when you make mistakes, cultivating a strong support network, and learning effective coping strategies for stress. It also means actively reframing setbacks. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I adapt and move forward?" By building your inner strength, you become less susceptible to the emotional and mental grip of perceived misfortune. You transform from a passive recipient of bad luck into an active agent capable of navigating life's complexities with wisdom and grace. So how do we put all of this into practice? How do we move beyond simply understanding these psychological concepts to truly transcending the perceived curse of Murphy's Law? It begins with a conscious and continuous effort to shift our perspective and embrace practical thinking models. The first crucial step is mindfulness and awareness. This isn't about clearing your mind of all thoughts, but about paying attention to your present experience without judgment. When you feel a wave of frustration or despair because everything is going wrong, pause. Take a deep breath. Is your expectation of failure influencing your current actions? By cultivating this moment awareness, you create a space between the event and your reaction. This space is where your power lies. Instead of being carried away by the current of negativity, you can choose a different response. Practice noticing the small successes, the moments of ease, the times things go right. Keep a gratitude journal, not just for gratitude. The next powerful tool is cognitive reframing. This involves actively changing the way you interpret an event or situation. Instead of viewing a setback as bad luck or Murphy's Law, try to reframe it. For example, a delayed flight isn't a cosmic punishment. It is an unexpected opportunity to read a book, catch up on emails, or simply practice patience. A mistake at work isn't proof that you are incompetent. It is a learning opportunity, a chance to refine your skills or processes. This isn't about denying the reality of the problem, but about choosing a more empowering and constructive interpretation. Ask yourself, what is another way to look at this? What valuable lesson might this experience be offering? How can this seemingly negative event actually serve me in the long run? This proactive shift in perspective can transform frustrating experiences into growth opportunities, effectively disarming the emotional impact of Murphy's Law. Then we move to proactive planning and risk management. While we can't control everything, we can certainly influence the likelihood and impact of things going wrong. This means moving beyond the planning fallacy. When embarking on a task or project, don't just what are the worst case scenarios and how can I mitigate them? Build in buffer time, create contingency plans, and consider alternative approaches. For example, if you have an important presentation, save it in multiple places, cloud, USB drive. If you have a critical appointment, plan to leave earlier than necessary. This isn't about living in fear, but about intelligent preparation. By anticipating problems, you reduce their surprise factor and empower yourself with ready solutions, making you feel more in control and less victimized when minor mishaps occur. This approach transforms Murphy's Law from an uncontrollable force into a set of foreseeable challenges that can be strategically addressed. A profound and often overlooked aspect is building resilience through acceptance and growth. True resilience isn't about avoiding pain or never encountering problems. It is about how you respond when they inevitably arise. Embrace the understanding that life is inherently unpredictable and not everything will go according to plan. This acceptance is not resignation, but a liberation. It frees you from the exhausting struggle against reality. When something goes wrong, instead of dwelling on the injustice of it, focus on how can I adapt to this new reality. This growth mindset transforms setbacks into stepping stones. It allows you to see the failures as data, as feedback loops for improvement, rather than as definitive statements about your worth or your destiny. This deepens your psychological immunity, making the perceived sting of Murphy's Law far less potent. Furthermore, cultivate perspective-taking. Are individual, but in the grand scheme of things, most Murphy's Law moments are minor inconveniences. Try to zoom out. Is this truly a catastrophe or a temporary hurdle? How will this matter in a week, a month, a year? How would someone else, perhaps a wise friend or a mentor, view this situation? Often, gaining distance can diminish the emotional charge of a problem, helping you to see it for what it truly is. This broader perspective helps to counteract the availability heuristic and recency bias, allowing for a more balanced assessment of events. Don't underestimate the power of humor and acceptance. Sometimes the best response to a Murphy's Law moment is to simply laugh, finding humor in the absurdities of life, in the frustrating but often harmless mishaps, can be incredibly cathartic. It shifts your emotional state it's a powerful act of defiance against the perceived curse. And alongside humor, cultivate acceptance for imperfection. Not everything will be perfect. Not every plan will unfold flawlessly. That is okay. Life is messy and human beings are fallible. Accepting this inherent imperfection in yourself, in others, and in the world around you can alleviate immense pressure and allow you to flow with life. This doesn't mean you don't strive for excellence, but it means you don't let minor flaws or unexpected deviations derail your entire well-being. Finally, let's revisit the Stoic approach. Ancient Stoic philosophers offered a profound framework for navigating the very anxieties that Murphy's Law evokes. Their core teaching is to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. We cannot control external events, traffic, the weather, other people's actions, or random accidents. These are the domain of external circumstance, or what some might attribute to fate or Murphy's Law. However, we control our judgments about these events, our attitudes towards them, and our reactions. When something goes wrong, the Stoics would advise against wasting energy on lamenting What is your perception of this event? Can you reframe it? What virtue can you practice in this moment? Patience, resilience, courage, wisdom. How can you respond constructively and rationally? This is true freedom and agency, by withdrawing your emotional investment from the uncontrollable and directing it solely towards your inner world. You become impervious to the curse of external misfortune. The traffic jam still exists, but your peace of mind does not depend on its immediate resolution. The spilled coffee still requires cleaning, but your inner tranquility remains untouched. This philosophical stance offers the ultimate antidote to the feeling of powerlessness that Murphy's Law can instill. It empowers you to be the master of your internal landscape, regardless of the external weather. As we near the end of our journey, I hope you are beginning to see that Murphy's Law, while a powerful and relatable concept, is less a cosmic decree and more a fascinating reflection of our human psychology. It's a testament to the intricate dance between reality and perception, between objective events and our subjective interpretations. It is not that things always go wrong. It is that our brains are incredibly skilled at noticing, remembering, and even influencing the times that they do, while often overlooking the countless instances where they don't. The perceived curse of Murphy's Law isn't about the universe conspiring against you. It is about how your mind interacts with the world, how your expectations shape your experiences. The good news, the truly empowering insight, is that you have the capacity to understand these mechanisms. And through conscious effort to change your relationship with them, you can learn to observe your thoughts, challenge your biases, reframe your perspective, plan more wisely, and build an unwavering resilience that makes you truly immune to the debilitating effects of perceived misfortune. The power to transform your experience of Murphy's Law, it's about shifting from a passive victim of circumstance to an active, discerning agent who navigates life's complexities with wisdom, grace, and an enlightened understanding of the human mind. Take these insights with you, apply them thoughtfully, and watch as the curse begins to unravel, revealing a world that is far more nuanced, balanced, and open to your influence than you once believed. If this exploration has resonated with you, and you are keen to delve deeper into the fascinating intersections of psychology and philosophy to enrich your life, I encourage you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us to continue bringing these valuable insights to a wider audience. I hope today's sharing provides you with a new perspective on the world. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.